Random House Audio presents A Journal for Jordan, a story of love and honor by Dana Canedy. Read for you by the author and Dion Graham.
Part 1. Dear Jordan, if you are listening to this book, it means that we got through the sorrowful years, somehow, and that you are old enough to understand all that I'm about to tell you. You are just 10 months old now, but I am writing this for the young man you will be. By then, you will know that your father was a highly decorated soldier who was killed in combat in October 2006 when a bomb exploded beneath his armored vehicle in Iraq. You were 6 months old. You will know that he left a journal for you, more than 200 pages long, which he hand-wrote in neat block letters in that hot, terrifying place. What I want to tell you is how the journal came to be, and what it leaves unsaid about your father and our abiding love. Before he kissed my swollen stomach and left for the war in December 2005, your father, U.S. Army First Sergeant Charles Monroe King, had been preparing for the promise of your new life and for the possible end of his own. Even before he boarded that plane headed for danger, I worried that he'd be killed. So I gave him a journal. I hoped that writing it would be a way for your dad to help guide you through life if he did not make it home to us. He wanted you to know, to pick up the check on a date, to have a strong work ethic, and to pay your bills on time. He wanted to tell you how to deal with disappointment, to understand the difference between love and lust, to remember to get on your knees and pray every day. Most of all, he wanted you to know how much he loved us. So late in the night in Iraq, after he had completed dangerous and often deadly missions, your dad returned to the relative calm of his room and wrote to you. His grammar was not perfect, and his handwriting at times suggested that he was tired or rushed. But he put so much thought into the beautiful messages he wrote, things like,
Be humble about your accomplishments. Work harder than the man next to you. It is all right for boys to cry. Sometimes crying can release a lot of pain and stress. Never be ashamed to cry. It has nothing to do with your manhood.
Your father mailed the journal to me in July 2006, shortly after one of his young soldiers was killed in an explosion eerily similar to the one that would claim his own life. He was so shaken after pulling the young man's body piece by piece out of a bomb tank that he sent the journal to me unfinished. He had more to say, but that would have to wait until he came home on a 2-week leave to meet you, 6 weeks before he died. I read the journal on the day it arrived, with you sleeping next to me, and fell in love with my gentle warrior all over again. He was the most honorable man I've ever known, and the most complex. I do not want to portray your dad as a saint whose example you could never live up to. He was not. He was gentle, benevolent, and loyal, but he could also be moody, stubborn, and withholding. I also want you to understand me, an imperfect woman who deeply loved her man but struggled during our long courtship to accept him as he was. Truth be told, every girl has an image of the man with whom she will walk down the aisle one day, and he was not the groom I had imagined. He was excruciatingly introverted, a procrastinator, and got his news, God forgive him, from television instead of the New York Times, where I have worked as a journalist for more than 11 years. I had a demanding career as a reporter when I met your father, while he was away for months at a time in the wilderness, training young men for battle. A former drill sergeant, he had a strong sense of duty. I learned to live with his ambivalence toward newspapers, but I struggled to understand what motivated the man who had dreamed of your birth but chose to miss it because he believed his soldiers needed him more. He refused to take his leave from Iraq until all 105 of his men had gone home first. Your father was bound to the military not only by a sense of duty, but because it had expanded his world. The soldiers he trained, and trained with, came from coal mining towns in West Virginia, the Bronx in New York City, seaside villages in Puerto Rico. He met former surfers, men who shared his love for the Bible, and women he revered for excelling in a male-dominated institution. He traveled through Europe while stationed in Germany. He practiced his Spanish while working with Cuban refugees at Guantanamo Bay. He wrote in the journal,
Enlisting in the Army was one of the best decisions I had ever made in my life. God blessed me above all I could imagine. Like anything, you have some challenging days, but when I look back, I have no regrets. The Army even recognized my artistic abilities. I also met a lot of great people. It's been an awesome experience. Thanks, God.
But those were peacetime experiences. The military had also introduced Charles to killing and death. The sight of blood gave him flashbacks. Chemical sprays he received during the first Gulf War left permanent splotches on his arms. For years, he was haunted by images of combat, unable to speak about them even to me. During his final tour of duty, he experienced loss of the worst kind. His goal was to bring every one of his men home alive. He even made that promise to many of their wives. It was a vow he could not keep. Still, he never questioned the rightness of a single mission. For Charles, the war was not about weapons of mass destruction or an axis of evil. I never heard him speak those words. It was about leading the soldiers he had trained by example, about honor and dignity, and about protecting a country he loved from enemies real or imagined. I am proud of your dad's honor and dignity, even of the way he died. Son, all of us will leave this world, but so few die a hero's death. Still, the would-be wife and new mother and me are angry at times that he left us so early, at the age of 48. Was it heroic or foolish that he volunteered for the mission that killed him? As the daughter of an Army veteran, I grew up on or near military bases, and after I left for college, wanted no more of that life. So for years, I resisted getting deeply involved with your father, and much of our long-distance romance involved him chasing me and me pushing him away. Ultimately, it was his steadiness, his character, and his sureness about who he was and what he stood for that won me over, something you will get to know by reading the journal.
Listen to your first thought. You will figure this out on your own. Never second-guess yourself. When your heart is in the right place, always go with your first thought. Work hard at things and follow your instinct. Since you were born, you have always been alert. That means you will be very perceptive about things. Believe God and trust yourself. Keep the faith, Jordan. You will be fine.
Your dad wanted so badly for you to know him that he revealed himself in the journal in a way he rarely did in person. He told you things about himself that I never knew. He wrote that he wanted to see the Great Wall of China and to take guitar lessons. He went into detail about his love of art, his religious faith, and his childhood in Cleveland. Until I read the journal, I did not know that your father had his first kiss in the 8th grade with a girl named Denise.
I walked her home after school, and she thanked me by giving me a kiss. I was a little taken back by it. Being in the 8th grade, it was a big step for me. All the girls were always smiling at me and joking around. I remember buying a brand new baseball jacket. I took it to school and let all the girls sign it and put their phone numbers on it. I had the jacket in my room, and Grandma King grabbed it thinking it was dirty and washed it. I rushed home from school, anxious to read my jacket, when I saw Grandma King hanging up my clean jacket. Grandma laughed. I was on my knees crying.
Your dad was an extraordinarily disciplined man. He believed that sweating on a 5-mile run was the best way to shake a cold. He picked the skin off chicken, would not drink more than 1 or 2 beers in a night, and did not allow himself to binge on the pastries he loved because he so closely watched his diet. Despite his regimented manner, there was so much depth to your father's character. He had a mind for war strategy, but drew angels bowed in prayer. He spent hours sculpting a taut body, even starting his days in Iraq in a gym at 5 a.m., but he loved my more than ample curves and had the softest skin I've ever touched. He gave away copies of his art to soldiers he respected, but would shout his throat raw when they made mistakes in training that could cost them their lives in combat. When he yelled, "You moved," one of the officers he served with said in a eulogy at his funeral, because he only yelled when there was good reason. I never knew the warrior who led those troops, and I was sometimes a mystery to him too. He thought I talked things to death. He read my newspaper stories if I asked him to, but he had no concept of how I could report and write about something momentous, a murder trial or a space shuttle explosion, in an afternoon. He also never understood how I could splurge on
Sample complete. Ready to continue?